Hopefully by now you've had a chance to check out the overview of features in Timebinder. This video will take a closer look at the render tray and how it interacts with other elements in the application. The render tray usually appears in the lower left-hand side of the Timebinder interface. It is where you manage and configure render objects in Timebinder. There are three kinds of render objects. They are timelines, timeline groups, and attributes. Render objects interact with data objects to create the visualizations shown in the render area. Timelines contain groups of attributes that combine to render the data object they are applied to. When a timeline with no attributes is applied to a dataset, it displays the data as event markers. These markers identify data as present in the render area, but tell you very little about it. You can use the disclosure arrow on the right-hand side of the timeline object to hide or reveal the attributes it contains. On the left-hand side of a timeline, or any other render object, you will find visibility controls. You can use these controls to hide or reveal the render object in the render area. Timeline groups are groups of attributes in timelines. Each timeline group corresponds to a render tab in the render area. The timelines and attributes contained within that timeline group will render on the corresponding render tab. A data object may have more than one render tab. This is useful for comparing different periods in the same data. You can create a new timeline group by selecting New Render tab from the render menu. You can hide the contents of a timeline group in the render tray by turning the disclosure arrow on the right-hand side of the timeline group object. Attributes are objects which embody a certain type of render behavior, like numeric y-axis, color, or a connecting line between points. By combining attributes, you can build up complex visualizations for multi-axis data. To apply an attribute, select the timeline group or timeline you would like to add it to, and then select the attribute you would like to apply from the Attributes submenu of the render menu. Attributes will attempt to configure themselves, but you should review the settings to make sure you're rendering what you want to see. The controls for an attribute can be shown or hidden by using the disclosure arrow on the right-hand side of the attribute object. Any object can be deleted in the render tray by selecting it and clicking the trash can icon. Be careful when deleting timelines and timeline groups, because we will also delete their contents. By using these objects in different combinations, you can create complex visualizations of the data in the data tray. To learn more about the data tray, check out some of our other screencasts. Thanks for tuning in.